Welcome to Nolan Knows. It's time for Missed in the Media. Our Missed in the Media this week is about President Obama. He's going to use executive actions on global warming. Right away, I think Solyndra and billions of dollars wasted for a problem I don't think exists myself. Interestingly, NOAA, the National Weather Service, and the people who've been promoting this whole global warming thing, they just spent millions of dollars about 10 years ago putting out temperature measuring devices in parts of the country where they were sure there would be no development over the course of the next several decades. They wanted to do this because they didn't want to have to adjust the temperatures for the urban heat island effect and other things. Well, they did that, and guess what? Turns out that we haven't had global warming in the United States at all. In fact, there's actually a global cooling trend. So what did they do at NOAA? They snapped into action and adjusted the temperature on those devices that they put where they wouldn't have to adjust the temperature. Somebody is lying about something, and President Obama is going to be wasting an awful lot of our money over nothing. It's time for the story of the week. Our story of the week this week is a shooting in a church in South Carolina. Several of the black churchgoers were assassinated by a man who frankly is a disgusting representative of the human race. But I'm going to talk about a couple of different aspects here. First, I'm going to talk about guns, firearms, if you will, in church. And I talked to a member of the same church, and they said they're opposed to having guns in church. But think what might have happened if the word was out that in church they allow concealed carry permit holders. Instead of the argument being we should eliminate guns, you could instead change the entire incident, because you don't see a lot of people shooting at police stations and surviving it. They usually go to places where they know guns aren't allowed. So if you're in a building, whether you're shopping or wherever it is, and they have a no guns allowed sign, know that you as a law-abiding citizen will follow the law, but the bad guys will see an open invitation to shoot. That's my first point on this. A second point on this has to do with the thought police. That is, this is a hate crime. You know, I don't give a rodent's rectum what this guy was thinking. He's a heathen who deserves anything that the law throws at him. The idea that you would charge somebody with a hate crime is silly. He's guilty of being a murderer. If you gave him life in prison, what would you give him for the hate crime? Would you revive him on his last day so he could live for 10 more years in prison? Charge him for what he did, not what he was thinking. It's time now for an update for our race to the White House. Well, this week, Donald Trump, billionaire developer, has thrown his hat in the ring. Personally, I didn't think he would. He still might not. Something could come up before he has to divulge his personal wealth. Things I like about Donald Trump is that he's unabashed about his success and his billions of dollars. I think that's wonderful. I think people should be proud of him. He should be proud of himself. We should all aspire to be so rich. And if I were going to build a skyscraper, I'd probably throw in with Donald Trump, but not to be president of the United States. He suggests that he's going to put a wall across the border between Mexico and the United States, as though that's going to stop somebody who's trying to feed their family from climbing over, swimming around, or digging under that wall to get to a job here. It isn't going to work. And then to suggest he's going to make the Mexicans pay for it. When he was asked how, he said he would put a tariff on their oil. Well, who buys their oil? I do. You do. So you'd still end up paying for the wall. His arguments are silly. The fact is that they are coming over here to find a job. They're looking for a better life, just like my great-grandparents and your great-grandparents. They came to the United States in many cases for opportunity. I'm not talking about the teat suckers. I'm not suggesting that we let them do that. But if somebody comes over here to work, we ought to encourage it. We ought to let it happen. Donald Trump is entertaining, but he is not presidential. This is the Gary Nolan Vents section of the program. And oh, am I going to vent. Now, you know me as the guy who believes in limited government, lower taxes, less spending. But I'm going to suggest that we cough up a couple of bucks for every photographer who works for the government that makes an ID card. For instance, the Driver's License Bureau. I got my picture today. I actually offered to pay twice to get another picture taken, and the guy refused. I imagine he'll take that picture back to the break room and they'll have a big chuckle over that photograph. I could get a ticket just for showing the picture on the license. We ought to spend a couple of bucks and get somebody in there that actually knows what they're doing. Although it's not beyond them, I suspect, to have given them a test to find out how competent a photographer they were, and when they failed, they gave them the job. These are some of the most horrible pictures I've seen in my entire life. Take a look at your driver's license picture. I'm willing to bet 9 out of 10 of you have a picture that could drive a bulldog off a meat truck from 50 yards. We really ought to do something about this.